Hey everybody, thanks for checking out Bald Move's Falling Skies coverage. I'm Jim. This week we're covering Season 3, Episode 9, entitled Journey to Zilbalba. Journey to Zilbalba. Where was Zilbalba this episode? I'm not totally sure, honestly. Doesn't matter though. Overall, I thought this episode was pretty strong. There were a lot of thematic things happening here. A lot of stuff with like love and loss and the futility of even trying in a situation like this, or I don't know, a lot of good stuff with those kind of themes, and it made it feel like this was a very cohesive episode throughout the entire show. One of the more cohesive that we've seen, I think. So first off, we should probably talk about the themes of loss and love. I mean, there was some stuff that Tom was saying to Cochise when he got back about how he thought that love used to be, or he used to think that love was an asset that gave him an edge, and now he's not sure about that. He thinks maybe it's more of a liability, which is understandable at this point. I mean, he's lost 2 wives now and a child, so not good. Then also Matt, when his dad gets back and tells him the news about Anne and the baby, Matt starts to lose hope. I mean, he is kind of regretting his ever having loved his mother and Anne because he's now lost both of them. So pretty rough on a kid his age, you know? There's also Hal's reaction when they get kind of boxed in that area like a Chilean miner. He's digging around. He's looking for Maggie, and she's passed out under some rubble. And his first reaction is, "Not you two, not you two. I didn't want to lose you two." And then even later on in that scene, or in that storyline, I guess, he thought that he himself could cheat death. And he says that he'd always thought that, but now he's realizing that that's not the case. And probably a good thing for him to learn. Maybe he'll be more concerned about putting himself in dangerous situations. Although, maybe not, because at the end of this episode he heads out, or at least he implies that he's about to head out to go find some shit. I don't know. So, and he's taking Maggie with him this time. So, whatever. Let's talk about the consequences of Anne's death. We've already talked a little bit about how it has done a number on Matt and done a number on a lot of people. Tom, most of all, and I mean it's very obvious in this episode, he is a madman. Not a madman as in crazy, a little bit crazy, but a madman as in very angry about what has happened to his wife. I guess Anne wasn't really actually his wife, right? They were never married. They were just lovers and whatnot. So, I don't know. I'm going to call her his second wife because it's much easier. I actually really, really liked the direction they headed off with Tom in the beginning of this episode. I think Tom has been kind of a one-note character from the beginning, and we haven't seen really any change in him. He's always been this source of inspiration and positivity for everyone, and I think it was awesome that now the wool has been pulled out from over his eyes, and he is seeing things kind of for what they are. I mean, there has been a terrible loss of life here, and Tom is giving into the hatred that he's been feeling, but not wanting to allow himself to feel. And I liked that a lot. I thought it was a welcome path for that character to explore. Now, I like the good guy Tom. I like Tom who's positive and inspirational, but you can't always be that, right? I mean, you have to have a bad day every once in a while. And this was Tom's worst day. There's also the idea that this brings up that Tom is this obsessed guy full of hatred, and the aliens have turned him into that. Like I said before, he was Mr. Nice Guy. Now he's very angry. The aliens have turned him into something which is far more likely to take them out in the long run. I think they're doing it to themselves, which is inevitable. You take over a planet, you kind of have to hurt people in the process. No way around that. The other possibility here is that he's not going to turn into this obsessive guy who will destroy the aliens. The other possibility is that he will get reckless and get himself killed in the process of trying to take them out. I don't see that happening. The third possibility is, I guess, what they actually did, which was to take Tom there for about 30 minutes during this show and then bring him right back to where he was. At the end of this episode, when he's talking to Cochise, he feels like old Tom. He does not feel like a man who is filled with rage and obsessed with revenge. And rightfully so. I mean, this episode did serve to bring him back from that as well as put him there, So I don't think that's weird of Tom to have come back like that, but I kind of wish they had let it linger a little bit longer and maybe see the effects of someone who is that obsessed, that angry, that careless, especially with someone as persuasive and powerful as Tom is. I think maybe they could have shown him kind of leading the entire group down a wrong path and then regretting that. And I mean, I don't want Tom to spiral into some sort of depression, but I would like to see, like I said, other notes from Tom than cheerful Mr. Nice Guy. So brief glimpse of that this episode. Then we move on to the stuff that the Cochise was talking about with the human spirit, and we saw a lot of evidence for the fortitude of the human spirit, I guess, throughout this episode. I mean, this stuff, not only with Cochise, but with Maggie and Hal, Hal is ready to give up. Well, actually, Hal at the beginning is not ready to give up. They get boxed in, and he can't stop digging. He's like, I'm not just going to roll over and die. I'm not going to stop digging, even though it wasn't really solving their problem. And then by the end of it, he's sort of given up, and Maggie has come around. Maggie is the one banging on the pipe, and it's ultimately that human spirit and that unwillingness to relent and to give in, the desire to find another way that saves them. I mean, Maggie would not have done that if she thought it was a lost cause, We can talk about the mole. The mole, I like the mole. That's resolved now, right? I mean, it was kind of resolved in a weird way. Tom was talking to her, and she mentioned Boston back where it all started, and he really latched onto that. When Anthony says that, and he goes, "What'd you say?" He's 145% sure that Lourdes is the mole, because he does not waste any time. He runs to the infirmary, he calls her over, and then they pull a gun on her. I guess, I mean, you put two and two together and it works out, but he seemed to act pretty extremely on that one piece of information. Especially when Lourdes gave some pretty convincing arguments as to why she would be doing what she's doing. She had good answers to the questions, but not persuading Tom, not at all. So at the end, there's some discussion from Hal about the mole and about what Lourdes did, and I feel like that's not him really concerned about what she's done and whether she can be forgiven. It's about whether or not he can be forgiven for the stuff that he's done, the lives that he's taken. And I thought that was nice. I mean, I like to see things that aren't totally blatantly spelled out. And that was a pretty effective way to get what's in Hal's head without him just coming right out and saying, "Hey, I'm kind of bummed about killing a whole bunch of people." Yeah, I'd rather, metaphor and simile and all that shit. Also, with Lourdes, I really liked how they tricked her. Because, okay, let's say you're Tom and you go, oh my God, Lourdes knew she was in Boston. He runs to the infirmary and he tries to take her into custody there. Well, who knows what Lourdes has up her sleeve, right? She could have bombs planted in the infirmary. That's her home territory. I like how he first went in there, got her out of her element with a lie, with a trick, and then confronted her about it. You know, take her out of her element. That worked really well. And we should probably talk about the weapon too, because the weapon is not blown up. The weapon is still intact, but they don't have the people to run it because everyone's dead. All of Cochise' buddies down the tubes. So now, here comes RSL. And I'm so happy that they're bringing RSL in to learn how to use this alien technology. I mean, so at my job, I just spent the better part of 3 months, all of 3 months, a little bit more, learning a human technology. I do not know that the 3 months they have before this grid irradiates the planet beyond the point where life can survive, that RSL can learn how to operate this weapon. I mean, maybe Cochise can help him out with the alien tech a little bit, but Cochise said, I don't know how to run this thing. No idea how to operate it. He's not an engineer. So I'm curious to see how they're going to, dance around that. They probably won't dance around that. What they'll probably do is just make RSL a very smart doctor. I mean, this is a guy who can take a toothpick and a paperclip and a marshmallow and blow up a nuclear power plant. So I don't know, but I'm still really excited about this because the weapon is a massive plot point that I want to see, not necessarily resolved, but explored more. And RSL is the perfect guy to do it. There were some other small things, like Ben not helping move rubble. Ben is the only person with superhuman strength in this group, right? I mean, Anthony says you're going to need a forklift to move that. Well, you got Ben too. I mean, he's kind of a forklift, so let him, move some rubble, not just listen to some creaky pipes in a sewer. That was weird. I thought it was funny how you can tell who the important characters are in this show by who they show immediately after a building collapses. I mean, it goes right to Tom, it goes right to Hal, it goes right to all the important people. Weaver's daughter. Yeah, it doesn't go to Joe Schmo, who, happened to survive the blast. So, funny stuff. Another weird thing that they did is several times after this explosion and the cave-in, the president complained about not being able to see. That never went anywhere. And by the end of the episode, she's fine again. So I don't know if that is... It might be something that they were exploring when writing this episode and just it didn't make the cut, In that case, I would say, why not take out those two lines that say, hey, I can't freaking see a thing, because it felt like it was leading somewhere and then it didn't go anywhere. So a little gripe there. I had no idea that they were living in a mall until now, but good to know, I guess. I thought it was just nondescript building 1. When Anthony and Tom were looking around at the damage and they hear RSL in the duct, they were just going to toss a grenade in there. Like, okay, maybe it would have been someone unimportant like Matt. Fine, blow him up. But it was RSL. You're not even going to look in this duct before you throw a grenade in there. They know that there are people probably trying to escape this rubble. And yet, grenades up, pin out, open the door, it's going right in. He got really lucky not to be blown up by a bunch of idiots. So, count your days, RSL, because they are a gift. A gift. And now they have no doctors. They have no non-mole living doctors, right? I'm still not giving up hope that Anne and the baby are alive. I don't think showing them in that cocoon state actually means they're dead. Tom didn't investigate at all. He just took it for granted. I don't know if that's the writers trying to tell me as an audience member, don't think about this because the main character is not thinking about this, so just don't. Or if it's them trying to quickly gloss over that fact so that later on they can bring them back. I hope it's the latter. As long as they can do something interesting with Anne, that's fine. I think the alien baby, has a lot of potential, and that's why I don't think that those characters are both dead. I think it would be insane not to take that alien baby thread into season 4. That's about it. Like I said, I enjoy this episode a lot more than some of the previous ones this season, and we've only got one more this season, so there's a big build-up. There's going to be some sort of battle, I think, according to the previews. My DVR is kind of shitty. My DVR cuts off the end previews, so I didn't get to see that. It's probably online somewhere. I can look it up, but that's it for this week. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and I will see you next week for the finale.